Good morning. Happy Monday morning. Thanksgiving's done. How did it go? I had a very nice Thanksgiving. Um, Met with my family and loved on my grandbabies. The the good stuff about Thanksgiving. I did make a gravy and I used xanthan gum. Xanthan. Xanthan gum. I had heard a lot about it on different recipes for different things. And so I thought, I'll try it. I'll make some gravy. I made a roast and decided to make a brown gravy, try the product out and see how it went. So here's my review on that. First of all, pardon the Ziploc bag because I put everything in Ziploc bags. The brand I used was Bob's Red Mill. I don't know if it comes in other brands from other parts of the world, but around here, that's the only one I found it in. It's not real common, so it's really a little difficult to find. I went to my normal grocery store and it wasn't there. And then I went to a little bigger one. I shop Kroger in this area, Kroger and Walmart. Went to a larger Kroger store in town and they didn't have it. But when I went to the Dillons, or which in this area is a Kroger store, Marketplace, I found it. So it's not real easy to find, but it is at a grocery store. You don't have to go to a specialty store to find it. I didn't check Walmart because, well, it was a couple days before Thanksgiving. Walmart, if you saw my buying a skirt video, yeah, I did not go to Walmart to try. I went to Dillon's Marketplace, or a larger Kroger store, and did find it. Another thing to be aware of for it, and it would be a surface freakout moment. That little package I showed you, it was a little over $12. But don't let that freak you out, and I'll tell you why. Because if you read the back of it, it will tell you to use 1 teaspoon of xanthan gum in a recipe for a cup of flour. So it takes very little to accomplish the same thing that your flour and cornstarch would accomplish. So it'll last a long time. And if you're only using it for thickening and binding foods together, which there's another recipe I'm going to try it for and see how that works. And then really it's going to last a long time. So it's not like you're spending $12 a week for this stuff. It will last a very long time. So the price can be a little intimidating at first. And the fact that it's a little difficult to find it could be a little intimidating at first. I'm hoping that if more people use it, those two things will kind of calm down a little bit, make it a little easier to find, more people will carry it, and the price will come down a little bit. Maybe, who knows? But anyway, so let's go back to the review of the product. I decided to try it in gravy. And I'm just going to be honest. It was amazing. So I put, it was about 2 tablespoons and I made 2 chuck roasts. So I had probably about, I would guess, about 4 or 5 cups of broth, maybe, yeah, that would be a good estimate. And I used 2 tablespoons of the xanthan gum. So as you can see, it's gonna last a long time. And I put that in a bowl, mixed a little water in it, just because if you're a cook, you don't want to add a powdery anything to a hot liquid, because then you get dumplings. So I mixed that in to incorporate moisture into the granules and whisk that into my gravy. And it did take quite a bit of whisking because it did want to make little, I don't know, call them lumps. Had the at the time it was almost like the consistency of tapioca. You see the little, yeah. So when I whisked it, and it wasn't even that I had to whisk it any more than I do any other gravy I make. It's just not. I mean, it does take a little effort. So I whisked that in there, and it thickened nicely. It wasn't too thick, and it wasn't too runny. It was just right. It was really a very good consistency. So ease of use was pretty good. You mix, like I said, if you do any cooking, you don't want to just mix a dry particle in with your hot liquid, or it will instantly bind and you'll make all kinds of lumps and dumplings in there. So I mixed it with water first to kind of hydrate a little bit before I mixed it into my hot boiling liquid. And then I simmered it while I whisked. I simmered it. It probably took about, I would say, 10 minutes, maybe 10 minutes. Whisked that in there, made the gravy. So then the next thing I thought, okay, sometimes I've made gravies with cornstarch before, and I do that a lot. I used to when I used to eat corn products. And sometimes if you're not careful, it would have, if you didn't get it hydrated well enough for mix it in there, it would have a little bit of a grainy, gritty texture if you use too much. And maybe I'm the only person that's had that happen to it before. So I got my spoon out and tried it. This has no strange texture and absolutely no flavor. So your flavor that you get is your wonderful broth flavor. So however you flavored your broth, you don't have to worry about taking away from it with your thickener or even adding to it. You're not going to have any kind of strange, because it was absolutely flavorless. It was amazing. So I mixed that up and took it to my parents for Thanksgiving. And obviously it was a hit because people ate it, told me it was. And then they ate it some more. And again, told me it was. So the next test is, how does it reheat? Oh, how does it refrigerate and how does it reheat? Does it separate? So yesterday, Sunday, so we're talking Thursday was Thanksgiving, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, we made a hamburger patty. I made a hamburger patty and I put the gravy on it. Reheated wonderfully. Did not separate, didn't dry out, didn't have a weird film on it. Any of the weird things that can go wrong with gravy, no problems. Folks, I give Xanthan gum a 10 out of 10 for product. No, let's say 9 out of 10 because it was a little difficult to find. I'm not even going to count it off on its cost because you use so little of it. If I would have made that gravy with flour, I would have first had to use about a cup of flour and that made a roux. So you still would want to do something different with, you don't put the dry, whether it's flour, cornstarch, whatever, you do not put the dry particles into a hot liquid or you're going to have a mess. Trust me. I've been cooking for many years. I know that firsthand. You just don't. You don't put a dry product or particle into a hot liquid. You're going to have a mess. So no matter what it is, whether it's flour, cornstarch, or xanthan gum, you want to hydrate it first. So if I would have used flour, it would probably been about a cup. I would have made a roux out of butter and flour, maybe some salt and pepper, because flour does have a little bit of a flavor, guys. It can take away from the flour the flavor of your broth, if you don't season it, it can make it taste like, well, cooked flour. So you season it. You want to make sure you don't use too much because, well, again, and then you gradually add it and you beat the buggers out of that, because if you don't, you're going to have beef and dumplings instead of beef gravy. And I've done that. And I've had it turn out very good. And I've had it turned out very not so good. And of course, you get your butter, and so you add your extra little fat, which when you're going keto, you're not really worried about the fat so much as you are the grain. But for other people, they get kind of turned off at the fact that to this broth, which is basically your beef fat and juices, you're adding more fat with the butter and the stuff. So that would be a kind of a, it works, but not the best. Or I'd use cornstarch, which is you take your cornstarch, and I always salt and peppered my cornstarch because I felt like it just added a little more to it. Now with the xanthan gum, I didn't have to. I tasted my broth first, had a good beefy flavor, and I went with it. I did not have to season my thickener. But with cornstarch, I always add a little salt and pepper to my cornstarch before I added it to the broth, because cornstarch can take a little bit away from the flavor. I felt like. So I would have taken the cornstarch, added about a cup, probably about a quarter of a cup or so, maybe. I always have to guess. I'm not a measurer, folks. That's probably the reason I haven't done any cooking videos, because it's hard to do it the way I cook old school. So, and then I'd mix water in it with a little salt and pepper and mix that up and make a slurry out of it. And whip that in. And still with cornstarch, even when you make a slurry, you need to whip it when you're adding it. You add it gradually, and with your whisk, you're whisking your broth while you're adding it, and you simmer it until it gets thick and thickens a little bit when it cools. With the xanthan gum, you didn't need to flavor it. You didn't need to season it, because it takes nothing away from your broth flavor. And right away, because as you're whisking it, it's getting thick. It doesn't change when it cools. You don't have to heat it to thicken it. It turns almost into, in your dish, it doesn't make a slurry. It makes it almost like a gel. And then you whisk that in, and honestly, if some strange, weird thing should ever happen and I decide not to go keto anymore, I'm still going to use the xanthan gum because it worked out that well. I'm going to play with it with a few more recipes. Another one I saw was I saw it on YouTube because, well, I'm a YouTube girl. I saw someone making low carb noodles, and they made fettuccine, and they used almond flour, eggs, and some xanthan gum, because that xanthan gum will hold particles together and keep it from falling apart. I've even seen some people use it on recipes on TV, on videos. They use it in some of the keto breads. They used it because, honestly, when I made some mug bread, it kind of crumbled and fell apart, which wasn't too bad. But if you want a good sandwich bread, you want it to hold together. So I might play around with it in some different recipe ideas. So that's my product review. I love the xanthan gum. If you've been craving gravies and stuff, and you like, man, gravy would have been real good with that piece of meat, but I don't want to use the cornstarch, and I don't want to use the flour. Use this. It's really pretty good. So that's my review on that. I love it. I would use it even if I'm not following this diet. It is a little expensive on the surface, but really you use such a small amount that it balances out the price. It is a little difficult to find, but once you find it, You'll love it. Try looking in your larger stores. It's over in the baking section. I use Bob's Red Mills. I don't know if it comes in any other brand, but around here, that's what it was in. And it's a small package, so you have to look for it. When you do and you find it, if you're like me, you will love it. Anyway, that's that. But I also have a question I'd like to post out there. I'm new at this. I am not getting the reviews I thought I would get, or the views. So my question to the few people that do watch this, what advice do you have? I'm open. I want the YouTube channel to flourish. I want it to do well because I'm really enjoy making these. I'm motivated by them, and I'm hoping to motivate other people. So that's my question. What is it that do you think would encourage more views or more shares? I know that at first the sound quality was no good. I got a mic, and I do notice that some of them were a little long, so I'm trying to cut that down. But if you have any other advice and tips, then let me know, and I'll be glad to do it. Could it be that I need to wear a goofy hat? Okay, that probably won't happen. But anyway, just out of curiosity, because I'm really enjoying making these, and I'm really hoping that if my things that I've learned and I went through can help other people, that would be a beautiful day for me. Anyway, have a great day. I love you all. This is going to be a beautiful day. I get to go Lions and play with my grandbabies again. So any day I get to spend time with those little buggers is a happy day to me. Have a great day. Love you all. Bye-bye.